Good morning. It is May 1st, Friday. I'm going to start us off this morning by reading scripture. It is from Exodus chapter 17, starting in verse 8. It says, "While the people of Israel were still at Rephidim, the warriors of Amalek attacked them. Moses commanded Joshua, 'Choose some men to go out and fight the army of Amalek for us. Tomorrow I will stand at the top of the hill, holding the staff of God in my hand.' So Joshua did what Moses had commanded and fought the army of Amalek. Meanwhile, Moses, Aaron, and Hur climbed to the top of a nearby hill. As long as Moses held up the staff in his hand, the Israelites had the advantage. But whenever he dropped his hand, the Amalekites gained the advantage. Moses' arms soon became so tired he could no longer hold them up. So Aaron and Hur found a stone for him to sit on. Then they stood on each side of Moses, holding up his hands, so his hands held steady until sunset. As a result, Joshua overwhelmed the army of Amalek in battle. After the victory, the Lord instructed Moses, 'Write this down on a scroll as a permanent reminder and read it aloud to Joshua. I will erase the memory of Amalek from under heaven.'" Here's something I think we've all realized being stuck in quarantine, the stay-at-home order, that people need people. I don't really care what anyone else says. We as humans were created for relationships, and not just with God, but with others as well. And as basic as this seems, I forget that sometimes. I remember when this quarantine thing came out, I was like, it's not really going to bother me. I'm sort of a stay-at-home person anyway. Sometimes I can be a recluse, but it's bothered me. And as appealing as kind of being at home was, I'm ready for relationships. I'm ready to see people. And I think God either finds my lapses into this thinking totally insulting. Maybe it's hilarious to him. I don't know. Maybe it's both. Usually he puts me in some sort of desperate situation where I require help from other people. I remember when I did ministry in Atlanta, one time I got lost downtown. I was with my youth group there. And we were lost in downtown Atlanta. I'm driving around, I have no idea where I'm going. So I had to pull over, ask somebody for help. And it was, for me, I was just like, I'll figure it out. But I needed somebody. Maybe you're a little smaller in stature and you need help getting stuff on the top shelf of the pantry. We need people. And so I think we realize that we can't go at it alone. I just read the story of Moses and, a very powerful and influential man who had more reason than anyone else to think he didn't need anybody. And so I have to wonder if when he went to the top of that mountain while the Israelites were fighting below, if part of him maybe just wanted to get away. The Israelites were whiny. I think he was kind of getting annoyed with them. We have no way of knowing, but I don't think it took very long for Moses to get tired of holding up his hands for those people. And really just holding your hands out. I mean, if you hold your hands up above your head like I'm doing, in about 30 seconds, your arms might start to get tired. They might start to get sore. And in one of the most compelling word pictures I've ever found in Scripture, we see how desperately and mightily he needs friends. He needed their support. He needed their strength. He needed their endurance. He needed their assistance, their help, literally. And what do you think was going through Moses' mind as he sat on the rock and allowed his right-hand men to lift his deadened arms in the air? I picture his head, bowed, his brow kind of furrowed, and his back is bent. And I imagine this day being ingrained in his memory. If he was ever tempted to think that he was too good to help other people, I think he needed to think back to the faithfulness of Aaron and Hur as they tirelessly came alongside him and empowered him to help win that battle. And if that memory starts to fade, he could just as easily go back to the scroll God made him after the Israelites won. Because this was, as it says, something to be remembered. And yeah, it was a great military feat, but I think there was another reason for writing it down. God said, write this down because Moses, you can't forget, and Joshua can't forget, and those who follow can't forget that you can't do life alone. My favorite TV show is way more entertaining when I can comment on it with somebody else, besides just me thinking it's funny. If you like to read, I'm certain reading is more fun when you can talk about it, and process it with, somebody else. Maybe it's a book club. Maybe it's, just another friend who's reading the book with you and you guys can talk about it. And that's just small stuff. But there has been and there will be big, difficult things that come along. And I don't want to be, and I can't be alone when it does. People need people. We're not intended to be loners in this world. We need to allow ourselves to take a seat, allow our arms to be lifted, allow people to come into our lives, allow them to come close, whether we feel like we require them to come close or not. Because someday it's going to be essential to have the help and the hands on either side of us to help us through something. And maybe you need that right now. We were created for relationships. We were created for this. And if you need somebody, please reach out to someone. Don't try and do this alone, because you're going to get exhausted. You're going to get tired. And so that is my my devotional today. And so I hope that you guys are having a great day. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I love you guys. I'll see you later.